Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to another jam-packed episode of the podcast. For those about to pod, we salute you. On this episode, Matt and I will be discussing the Taylor Hawkins Tribute Concert, the Stonedead Festival, new releases, My Year in Rock, which is 2012, and the best part of the show, Hidden Gem Time. Absolutely. And here he is, the podcaster in the South, Mr. Matt Rogers. How are you, Matt?
Hello, Brian. Yes. Good. How are you?
I'm really good, actually. It's been a busy week. I'm not quite sure where we want to start the podcast.
Jam-packed.
Jam-packed.
I like that. Yeah. Packed with jam.
And cream. And cream. We could get into that whole Cornish. What, you know, the way when you do clotted cream, is it jam on top or cream in the bottom? It's. I'm English. I'm Irish, so I can duck out of it.
Good start. I don't know whether you're English or Irish. Let's move on.
Exactly. So where will we start?
Well, I think there's only one place to start, is there, really? Don't you?
Yes, the Taylor Hawkins Tribute Concert. 6 hours of music.
Unbelievable. We weren't there. We watched it on. I was watching it on YouTube.
Nick was there.
Our friend Nick was there.
Yeah,
and his wife Julia. Hello, Nick. Hope you had a great time. I'm going to catch up with him later this week and find out how it was. But I was just transfixed for the whole. What was it? As you say, 6 hours.
Yeah,
fantastic. I think the production, just before we get into the music and the performances, were just amazing. But the production and the timing and the quality of the whatever it might be, the editing or anything like that, was just fantastic. I mean, I, for one, I'm looking forward to the Blu-ray or the DVD or the film or whatever it comes out of it, because there was some once in a lifetime performances, just unbelievable. And the emotion, it was emotion packed as well, wasn't it? I mean, as you can imagine, but it was done in a really, I think, a really tasteful way throughout, and there wasn't too much schmaltz, but there was a sufficient amount of it. Taylor
has always worn his influences on his sleeve, and we all know that Queen was a big band of Taylor's. The Foos pretty much always played Under Pressure or Somebody to Love as one of their covers. Massive Stuart Copeland fan. I think Taylor owns a few of Stuart's earlier drum kits. Massive Rush fan. And when all of the members, surviving members of those bands are willing to get together to pay tribute to a young man, and he was a young man. It just shows you how much he touched those people in a short space of time. So, yeah, there was a few supergroups that could have been formed yesterday.
One or two. Oh my goodness! I thought of you. Yeah, there were quite a few supergroups, but and one or two genuine supergroups, of course. But we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
Highlights for you, Brian?
The highlights for me. Let's
go through things sequentially.
Oh, we're going to do it sequentially. So I think the first thing that blew my head off was really early doors. Because obviously Liam Gallagher, big fan. Taylor was a big fan of Oasis. He opened it all up. But my first OMG moment was when Josh Homme came on stage. Josh Homme's the lead singer of Queens of the Stone Age and also Them Crooked Vultures. They came on, the first supergroup of Nile Rodgers, Josh Homme, Chris Cheney, who's a lifelong friend of Taylor's, and Omar Hakim. They came on and did a couple of David Bowie tracks, and Josh Homme sang Let's Dance, and he did a very, very good rendition of Let's Dance. I thought that was my first. Ooh, I wasn't expecting that to be as good as it was.
And it kind of set the scene, didn't it? Certainly, him and Liam Gallagher set the scene. It was very well rehearsed. I think they obviously spent a lot of time rehearsing. And I was thinking about that story you told me about Axl at the Guns N' Roses. Sorry, Axl at the Freddie Mercury tribute gig back in 1992. You know, under rehearsed, but I mean, there were no signs of anyone being under rehearsed.
No.
I did enjoy that. You're absolutely right. And Joshua Homme was a revelation. I'm not sure about his rendition of "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road," but we'll come back to that. But I mean, you know, it's one of the very few, you know, little critical points of the whole thing. And it was well intended, of course.
Yes.
In the absence of Elton John, but I'd say, I mean, Wolfgang Van Halen. if it had stopped with Wolfgang Van Halen, Dave Grohl, and Justin Hawkins doing "On Fire" from the first Van Halen album, not even a very well-known song, and then "Hot for Teacher," and it was just, I mean, off the scale.
It was.
Wolfgang Van Halen shredding, and from some angles, looking like his dad. I mean, it was uncanny. I mean, obviously, you know, it's the son of the great Eddie Van Halen, but from certain angles, you know, you just see a little sort of a bit of Eddie going on there, and it was just that if it had stopped there, I'd have been very happy. I mean, it was just tremendous, wasn't it?
Did you think really he was that good a guitar player?
Not before that.
Not before
that. No. Anyone who takes on note for note solos of Eddie Van Halen and pulls them off, just fantastic. And of course, Dave Grohl on
bass,
on the bass, which was a recurring theme. But yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really like Chad Smith's story about the music store in LA.
Yes,
where
the Guitar Center.
I mean, that was beautiful, wasn't it? I mean, just giving stuff to kids. And, you know, those little stories go unseen, don't they, unheard. But that was lovely. As you say, Supergroup's John Paul Jones made an appearance. I don't know if anyone actually noticed, but he sort of slipped on. John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. That was good.
Do you know what? A band, you've seen them. I know you've seen them, Crooked Vultures. A band I didn't know really much about. But, the segue from Elton's interview into Goodbye Yellow Brick Road was well-intentioned. But as a singer myself, I was watching that going, Josh started off really, in the low register element, he's really great. But there was 3 backing singers. So when it came to the really, really high-pitched falsetto bit, I was expecting the backing singers to just sort of bail in and help Josh out, and they didn't. And I'm going, he was left hanging. But they let's just say they more than made up for it with they played Gunman off the off their only album, and then they played the Queen of the Stone Age track "Long Slow Goodbye," which to me is probably one of my songs of the day. That was just that's when it got heavy. It got rocky at you know, them Crooked Vultures. Yeah,
great. That was good. That was good. I really did enjoy that bit. And you know, it was kind of, you know, similar in a way to the James Gang getting back together after 15 years and not playing together, Joe Walsh and the rest of the guys. That was good. And of course, the Pretenders, Mike Chambers and Chrissy Hynde, of course, with Dave Grohl on bass again. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. And Supergrass, of course, were in there as well. And I like to think that there'll be a resurgence of interest in Supergrass, because I think they're one of those underrated British bands. They did a cracking version of All Right, and then they did that great story about Taylor Hawkins playing Caught by the Fuzz at about, what was it, 500 miles an hour or something like that, that little clip. And it was lovely, wasn't it? It was just, I just thought it was fantastic. Yeah. And then we got into the kind of serious end of the day. Brian Johnson and Lars Ulrich coming out to play, which I thought was quite nice, Back in Black and Let There Be Rock. I mean, what did you think of that? I think Lars held his own, didn't he?
I have never seen Lars Ulrich with a bigger smile on his face. Absolutely. No, it's noticeable. And I've actually watched this back on YouTube. When we obviously watched it live on the telly, it looked as if Justin Hawkins was battling with Brian Johnson for the microphone.
Yeah, what happened there? Because
So-
I thought, is he getting a bit too starstruck and he's run on thinking, right, this is it, once in a lifetime chance. I'm going to go on and steal some of the limelight and do a verse of Back in Black.
Not at all. No.
Talk me through it, Brian.
So I thought, I knew we would talk about it, and it looked, boys and girls, if you were watching it on the live stream, that Justin Hawkins was like fighting with the microphone with Brian Johnson while Brian is singing all the high notes. After, when they sang the first verse of Back, when Brian Johnson was singing the first verse of Back in Black, when he was just about to start the second verse, he actually waved over. We didn't see this on stage.
Oh, I see.
So this is on somebody on who videoed it on YouTube. It's on YouTube. So Brian Johnson basically, super sub, Justin, come on. So he's beckoning him on the stage, and of course he gives the microphone to Justin Hawkins, and then Justin Hawkins starts singing it. Justin's then trying to give Brian Johnson back the microphone, and the pair of them this is probably where, right, we're in uncharted territories here. Justin's kind of going, I'm giving you the microphone back, Brian, but you're not singing, but we've 100,000 people. So it was one of those moments where Justin's kind of like fighting to give the microphone back to Brian, but still being professional and singing. So Justin was not fanboying or got lost in the moment. Brian Johnson went, Wembley Arena, super sub. I need somebody to come and help me.
I'm glad you cleared that up. Wembley Stadium, of course. I'm glad you cleared that up. Because I was wondering what was going on there. Having said that, Justin Hawkins did do a great job throughout the whole gig.
Yeah.
He did Coattail Riders songs. He did.
They were good. They were really good. Yeah.
He did. Later on, he did an amazing version of Under Pressure, doing both the high bits and the low bits. But before we got to Queen, the remaining members of Rush came out, Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee, which to me as a lifelong Rush fan, and it wasn't Rush, but they certainly, as you said earlier, recognizing the fact that Taylor was a huge Rush fan, they were very gracious and came out and did the overture for 2112. They did Working Man from the first Rush album.
Absolutely.
And then a magnificent version of YYZ with Omar Hakim, as you mentioned earlier. And in between, and this was the bit that really kind of, brought a tear to my eye, was when they mentioned their lost brother, Neil Peart, who died in 2020. That was really poignant to me. In fact, the whole gig, I mean, I have to say, there was a it wasn't, I don't think it was a joyous occasion. It was quite a melancholy occasion. There weren't fireworks. There wasn't any huge egos. There was a kind of quiet melancholy that ran throughout the whole thing because, and we saw it with Dave Grohl. I mean, some of his speeches and obviously the introduction of Times Like These, which, he really struggled with. Yeah. Was very, very heart wrenching, and you could understand. I mean, when it all boils down to that, they've lost a friend, they've lost a brother, as it were, and it's tough. But I did enjoy the Rush piece, I have to say.
We were all waiting to see what the Foo Fighters would do by playing without Taylor. Who would replace Taylor? How would they do it? And then we before the Foo Fighters had to contend with that, Rush had to contend with that, and Geddy and Alex haven't played with anybody else than Neil Peart for 50 years, nigh on 50 years, and Dave gets on stage and plays, as you say, 21, which I thought was amazing, to do the overture for 2112. It's just a shame it wasn't played at 12 minutes past 9.
True.
that would have just made it all more prophetic. But the fact that Dave was playing with Rush, who was one of Taylor's favourite bands, they obviously did YYZ, that would not have been lost on Dave, but the band, Alex and Geddy they'd have been going, we're playing in front of 100,000 people, first time ever without Neil. Yeah. And Geddy Geddy took that moment to just say, we're going to remember our brother who we've lost just before, whilst we're playing. It was quite emotional. It was.
Absolutely.
But they did.
Absolutely.
But Rush just did what, or the remaining members of Rush did what they did. And it did look strange, mind. At that moment, Dave Grohl, who is an amazing drummer, during Working Man especially, he was battering the drums like Animal out of Muppet.
Oh yeah,
it was like, and then of course Omar Hakim comes on, and then you get into the technicalities of what Rush are all about. But yeah, that was a bit special. The Rush bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then of course we had Paul McCartney further down the track. He was good. And with Chrissy Hine, but I think that the icing on the cake before we heard from the Foo Fighters was Queen, and I did at the time think there is a sad symmetry with the 1992 Freddie Mercury tribute concert. I mean, a spine tingling version of "Love of My Life" by sung by Brian May. Really good version of "We Will Rock You" with Luke Spiller from the Struts. That was good. I think you enjoyed it, didn't you?
Total highlight of the entire gig. I was expecting Adam Lambert, if I'm being honest. And Luke came out, and his vocal inflections, the fact that they did both the slow and the fast version of "We Will Rock You."
Yeah.
In some ways, me personally, I would have had Luke singing all three songs. I would have had Luke doing "We Will Rock You," "Under Pressure," and "Somebody to Love." I thought he was perfect for Queen. No disrespect to Adam Lambert. I like Adam a lot. But that was the surprise of the show for me. I was just like, wow, where did you come from?
I know, that was good. It was very good. And then finally, what I thought was really quite cool was Sam Ryder almost did a homage to George Michael's version of "Somebody to Love" from the Freddie Mercury concert. So that was a nice way of kind of bookending the gig, or bookending their performance. And then the Foos were, I think there was a melancholy, and also when I was listening to the songs they chose, there is a sort of poignancy to a lot of their songs. Times Like These was just staggering and very, very emotional. And obviously finishing with My Hero with Shane Hawkins on the drums. In between times, I wondered whether they were doing an audition for. We shouldn't really be, we shouldn't be frivolous about it, I guess. But Travis Barker did a great job. Josh Freese did a great job. Rufus Taylor from The Darkness, Roger Taylor's son. I mean, wow. I mean, almost a Taylor Hawkins lookalike with the eagle tattoo, which I'm sure will become very popular now, if it's not already popular. In fact, Brian, look, I've got something to show you. What did you think of that?
I was, as I was watching the concert, I was on Twitter as well too, and it was interesting. Josh Freese was the first drummer that played Times Like he did the first two numbers, and Twitter was blowing up, going, "No need,
he's the man.
No need to audition anybody else. Josh Freese is the man." Travis Barker came out, and you and I watched the dynamics of bands, and when they played Monkey Wrench. Now, interesting, you talk about Supergrass playing Caught by the Fuzz at 500 miles an hour. When Travis Barker counted off Monkey Wrench, he went click click. Dave wasn't ready, so they stopped. Then he clicked it off again, and they went straight into Monkey Wrench, which was the punkest, fastest version of Monkey Wrench I've ever heard. Dave looks back in true frontman fashion to Travis, and that look between the pair of them could either mean one of two things: good job, Travis, or this is too bloody fast. Yeah.
I mean, it is a fast song, but I think a lot of it was very, very, very fun. And of course, the adrenaline's taking over.
Absolutely,
100,000 people, millions of people watching on TV, and so on. But I think all the drummers, in fact, all the performers, all day, did a tremendous job.
Put their heart and soul into it. I thought,
absolutely.
and Rufus. I thought Rufus, Taylor. There was a connection. Who knows what will happen with the Foo Fighters? I hope. I hope after doing these concerts they continue as an entity. But I could just see that Rufus was playing his heart out, and the band could tell that. It was that Led Zeppelin moment in 2007 when Jason's battering away in the drums, and the three members of Led Zeppelin sort of congregate around the drum riser and have a moment as the four of them. And there was that moment last night with Rufus and the band, and I thought that was really lovely.
I do too. Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, I think it did almost sort of crystallize the potential for them to carry on. They've done the tribute gig. They're going to do another one in LA, which is this weekend coming.
Yeah.
And I think that it was a very, very fitting tribute to a great man, obviously very well thought of, very well loved, great drummer, great personality. And as you said, died sadly way too young.
Yeah. So I think if you haven't seen the show, people, go and watch it. Right from beginning to end, there will be some surprises there for you. And you get to see a band who, in my view, are still relevant. Yeah. And I even got to hear songs I heard last night for the first time. Aurora, which is which was Taylor Hawkins' favourite Foo Fighters song, a song I didn't know. And I've been listening to Foos and Shuffle all day today. So amazing event. And probably, you mentioned the Friday Tribute concert in 1992. That's probably the last time we've seen such an array of artists all getting together for a cause. And let's not forget that it is raising money for Music Care. What we'll do, Matt, is we'll put a link to Music Care and all of the relevant information up on our Facebook page, which is
good idea. Yeah, good idea.
There we go. That was
okay. That was good.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, never to be forgotten. Great event. So, Brian, it will not have escaped your attention that there's a new King's X album out.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, tell us about it. It's their first album in 14 years, I think?
It is indeed. Yes, 14 years.
And it's called Three Sides of One, which I quite like. It's quite a nice, because obviously a three-piece. So how excited were you on the day of release, and how many different formats have you bought it in? How many T-shirts have you got, downloads, etc., etc.? Talk us through it.
So, luckily for me, I did get it, Matthew, in physical format on the day of release, as I always do when it comes to King's X. I always get their album just so that I can text all my King's X buddies and friends and go, have you listened to it? Have you listened to it? But the fact that it probably at 1 minute past 12 on Friday, September the 2nd, anybody in Europe and the UK could have listened to it, or around the world on streaming services. So it still doesn't have that nah factor anymore when people can stream it. But as you say, it's the first album from King's X in 14 years. I'm sounding like a broken record. I love it. And I love it probably for 3 key reasons. Number 1, big shout out to Michael Parnan. Michael Parnan produced it. This album, Michael Parnan has got King's X back to, it's between 1992 and 1994 for me, Matt. It's that perfect period between the self-titled album and Dogman. It just takes you back to that classic King's X era. The songwriting's fantastic, and I for once I listened the whole way through to the album. There's some songs which some songs you don't love as much as others, but the last 3 tracks in the album, which are Watcher, She Called Me Home, Everywhere, the strong tracks through the album. It's nicely split. Ty Tabor, who's the guitarist, is singing on the album, as is Jerry Gaskell. And a lot of the a lot of the writing's been done separately, brought together. So it feels like a King's X album, return of the multi-lead vocals and the harmonies. So I was very excited. I wasn't disappointed. And I've been listening to it as much as possible, apart from the homework that you've set me on the other albums that I've had to listen to as well too. But I loved it. Great album. And I'm just so disappointed that we're not getting to see them tour this album. But Ty Tabor, we wish him well. He's recovering from some treatment, and hopefully we'll see him soon. But a very, very welcome return to King's X.
Very good. I'm glad you're pleased. I can see it on your little face. Beautiful. Well, I'd say I think it's the first King's X album I've listened to in its entirety, and I'm with you. I think it's great. I would urge everyone to go and listen, and in 30 some odd episodes, Brian has relentlessly plugged King's X, and I think if you listen to this, you'll probably understand why. So,
there's a lot of disgruntled fans. I want to say there's lots of there's some fans who, like me, ordered it. The likes of Amazon, etc. Amazon sold out, so there's people who have they're sold out of the product, of the physical product. So really? there was people who were disappointed and. That they didn't have their product in the day, and it's sitting reasonably high on the physical rock charts as well too. So yes, I'm very happy. It was a great release. But one, talking about a band that I talk about King's X, but a band that you turned me on to, and in particular the young singer of the band as well too, that we've seen with Mikey Gray, is the new Revival Black album. Yeah, Under the Light. What do you think of that?
I like it. I have to say, I mean, two more different albums you couldn't wish for in Three Sides of One and Under the Light. But I mean, I think it's got some great songs there. It's very kind of it's very guitar driven rock. It's multi-tracked guitars. It's very heavy. It's great singing from Dan Byrne. Go and have a listen, everyone. Songs like Believe. I can't get it out of my head. Take You Out, rather. And Hemispheres is a nice kind of heartfelt sort of ballady type song. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. I was thinking about it, Brian, actually, because there are lots of bands in the new wave of classic rock movement, which is happening in the UK and across Europe to an extent. But I think much like the new wave of British heavy metal back in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, the cream will rise to the top. And I think, bands like Revival Black and Florence Black and Cardinal Black, and basically any band that's got black in the title should be fine. They're all really good quality bands. And I think they've, hopefully, there's plenty of others, by the way, guys. Mason Hill and Those Damn Crows and so
Scarlet Rebels.
That's so many to mention.
Yeah.
Because they're all great. I mean, they're all good. I mean, they all deserve to have really strong, solid, successful futures. But I particularly like Revival Black, who I think got a brilliant frontman and singer in Dan Byrne. But the rest of the band, great musicianship, well produced. Give it a listen. Yeah,
I agree. And I think when you've got a talented singer like Dan, and for those people who, this is... Usually with a band, the second album is always the difficult album. And this album flows really, really well, and it's so well produced. I mean, you've got a singer like Dan. Some bands and producers can focus so much on the singer. Let's put the singer high in the mix. You've got to give credit to the guitar players. And there's a few tracks, like my favorite track in the album is Left of Me. In fact, I like Left of Me and change my mind. There are times whenever Dan is singing and the musicality and the guitar play, it reminds me of Slash with Miles Kennedy. It's got that nice rocky meat and potatoes, kind of like good G&R guitar riffs, but with a singer who can just go wherever he wants with his vocal. And that's where I think the band, the double guitars and the rhythm section of bass, they really set that platform to allow Dan to do his thing. But I was, really impressed with Revival Black. Go out and get it.
Yep, indeed.
So, Matt, that was the new releases. So, my year in rock, 2012. How was it for you?
It was good. A mere 10 years ago.
No other maths you want to throw into that? Multiply it by 57 and...
or wait for it. Or if you listen to this podcast in the year 2050, how is it? What's 2050 like? Please get in touch and let us know.
Where was Buck? At some point, it'll be, what was Buck Rogers listening to in the? Was he in the 25th century? Where was
25th century? That's a long way out. But if you're listening in 2050,
yeah,
in your one-piece spangly jumpsuit and silver boots, what's it like? What's music like? Let us know at FT80 Pod on Twitter or on Facebook. No, anyway, so yes, 2012, a good year.
Good,
10 years
yes.
ago, as I said. I'm going to do the gigs first because I went to some great gigs. I'll tell you what they were.
That would be good.
Interested. saw the Stones. I won tickets to see the Stones, believe it or not, in the O2 in London. Rolling Stones. It's not the Stones, not any other Stones. The Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And 2 tickets. My wife and I went. So it clashed with the same night I was supposed to go and see Magnum. So unfortunately, I ditched Magnum. No disrespect to Magnum, the band. I went to see the Stones. It was good. I think everyone should see the Stones at least. It's like going to Vegas.
Yes.
I think everyone should, and other things as well. Everyone should do Vegas, go to Vegas once, and at least once, and everyone should see the Stones, I think, at least once.
I agree.
And they were great. They had Florence from Florence and the Machine join them, Mick Taylor, Eric Clapton, and so on. I mean, it was a great night.
You nearly met my brother, I think.
I did. Your brother was there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We didn't quite organise to get together, sadly. Yes, but it was a great night. I also saw same year saw Guns N' Roses at the same venue actually. Obviously pre-Slash rejoining, pre-Duff rejoining, but still good.
Was this Chinese democracy line-up type stuff?
It was that kind of era. They're still sort of doing the rounds on that album. I think Axl was about an hour and a half late from memory. I can't remember exactly. It was good. Saw a band called Tracer. Now, it's worth mentioning Tracer, one of those sad stories of a really good band, did a really good couple of albums. And we saw them several times when they came to London. They're from Australia. And sadly, they had to fold in about 2014-15 because it was just so costly for them to sort of tour the world or come to Europe from Australia. And, we lose track of the fact that, it does cost a fortune to move bands around the world and even across Europe now, which is a whole different subject for another day. Saw Chickenfoot at the O2 Academy Brixton, i.e. the Brixton Academy. You were there, weren't you? And you famously met Don Airy.
Me and Don.
Player from...
Me and Don.
Yeah. How is he? Doing all right?
He's doing okay.
Yeah, you been in touch?
I can't really talk about it.
That's a no then. Don Airy, of course, from Rainbow and
he's so tall.
Deep Purple.
He's massive.
Really, compared to you, though, most people are, aren't they? Let's be fair.
Thanks.
Is he that tall? Do you have his maybe his platform boots on from the Rainbow?
Maybe he did.
Yeah.
Don
Airy. I remember that gig. Saw Wasp at Kentish Town.
Really?
Yeah.
What were they like?
Packed. I mean, Wasp are one of those bands. They're kind of Marmite, really. And you either like them or you don't like them. Obviously, that's the essence of being Marmite. But they're all right. I went with a friend of mine, Steve Power. Hello, Steve, if you're listening. And they were good. It was I think it was 25 years of the album The Crimson Idol.
Good album.
Yeah, exactly. And that was interesting. I'm glad I got to see them. And then finally, for the final time, I saw Motorhead at the Brixton Academy, supported by Anthrax. Now, a little story here. So for those who know Brixton Academy, and it's not the situation anymore, they used to have these massive wooden doors between the bar, which you have to go through to go into the auditorium. So you go through the entrance, through the bar, in through these massive wooden doors, and then you're in the auditorium. And we went for a couple of drinks beforehand, a group of us, and we opened these wooden doors just about halfway through the Anthrax set, and we couldn't even get the doors open. There were so many people in there. Saw a bit of Anthrax; they were good, but Motorhead, I don't think I've ever heard anything so loud in my life. And I remember thinking at the time, all these songs are just kind of just a wall of noise. But looked over to people next to me, and they were singing along. I thought, I said, I can't distinguish one song from another, and you're singing along. I was just, well, that's Motorhead fans for you, I guess. But yeah, I mean, fantastic. Glad I got to see Lemmy. Well, I'd seen him earlier in the 80s, but last time I saw Motorhead was back in 2012. So yeah, good year for gigs. A real eclectic mix. Well, obviously you can hear. Albums-wise, last album from Rush came out, Clockwork Angels, the aforementioned Rush. I think mentioning just because it was a good album, a good swan song to their career.
Yeah.
And the last song they ever recorded is an absolute beauty, a song called The Garden, which is, I was listening to earlier today, absolute beautiful song. Also off the album Headlong Flight, Caravan. Shinedown released Amaryllis, which is still one of my favorite, probably my favorite Shinedown album. The title song is just fantastic. Songs like Unity, Adrenaline. Rival Sons, who we saw a few weeks ago, released Head Down. Probably my favorite Rival Sons album. Until the Sun Comes, Keep on Swinging, Wild Animal, songs that are in their now set. So, yeah, from an album perspective, it's good. Too many to choose from, Bri. We had live albums from Iron Maiden. We had the comeback album from Van Halen, Different Kind of Truth, and so on. So, which you're going to probably not mention. It wasn't their best piece of work, was it, to be fair?
It was better than Van Halen 3. That's all I can say.
Yeah, okay. Memories of 10 years ago for you, Brian? You finished university then, obviously.
I had finished university.
Yeah.
I'm probably still paying off my student debt. For me, I went to quite a similar amount of tours as you did. So I did, as you said, did Chickenfoot, saw the Stones. Probably the two standout gigs for me in 2012 is I got to see the reformed It Bites. So It Bites, who Francis Dunny was no longer with the band. John Mitchell, who I'm a big fan of, was fronting It Bites in 2012. They played a great set in a nice little club in Glasgow. It was fantastic, and I got to see the final fair. Well, it was dubbed the Farewell Tour of Thin Lizzy in 2012, and I was lucky enough to meet the band around Christmas time. So I got to meet Scott and Damon Johnson and Brian Downey. So those are the great gigs of 2012 for me. Albums wise, just you've covered so many of the great albums. Just a couple that I'll just call out. Black Country Communion. They released actually my favourite album. It's probably the as much as the Black Country Communion 1 and 2 came sort of like quickly after each other. The third album, which was called Afterglow, they were on a real... Black Country Communion seemed to be on a real momentum. You know, they toured. The live album, Live Over Europe, had come out, and the third album had come out, and then after the third album, it all just petered out, and the schedules became a barrier to the band continuing. So that's a great album. I'll check that out. Mike Portnoy during the mid 2010s. Do we call it the tens, Matt? the tens.
I think so.
The tens.
I don't really know. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Portnoy had obviously left. He had left Dream Theater. I'm laughing, ladies and gentlemen, not because Mike Portnoy had left Dream Theater, but it's just Matt is now pretending that he's playing the 900-piece drum kit that Mike Portnoy has on stage. So Mike Portnoy had put another, wait for it, Matt, supergroup.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a supergroup with Mike, Dave LaRue, Neil Morse, who he's in Transatlantic with, and Steve Morse, who was from Deep Purple.
Was it called Morse Code?
They weren't called Morse Code. The band was called Flying Colours.
Oh, close.
So they put their debut album out. So if you like your progressive rock in a with a touch of Steve Morse from Deep Purple and that kind of things, the debut Flying Colour album is there. And I would just like to give a shout out to the Europe's album, Bag of Bones. It's a great classic rock album. Some of the Planet Rock in 2012, Matt, you'll remember this. They plugged to death Not Supposed to Sing the Blues. It was a real good, really, really good album. And then they followed that up with the single which we heard at Steelhouse, Firebox. So check out Europe's Bag of Bones album. Was good. So 2012, great year, Matt.
Indeed, and the year of the London Olympics.
It was indeed. I was there.
Yeah. Well, what event were you in then? 100 meters.
No, I contributed financially to I bought some tickets. I was at the what did I go to? I went to the Athletics on the first night, opening night. I went to the Athletics to see Jessica Ennis Hill.
Did you?
I can remember it well.
I went to the marathon because it was free.
Yeah. Did you?
I did. The only thing I went to, because I didn't get my act together to get tickets for the Olympics. So my wife and I, which was my wife then, Kate and I went to see. I stood outside St Paul's Cathedral in London and watched the marathon. We went to the Paralympics as well.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah.
Must give a mention to Paralympics as well. But yeah, it's a good year all round.
Good.
So, Brian, that was 2012.
Yeah.
Next time in episode 37, I would like you to take us back to the dim, distant past, 2005, if you would.
Happy to.
Thank you. A mere 17 years ago. I'm going to stop doing that. It's getting boring. When my hair was short.
It's
right.
Yes.
So, a couple of weekends ago, we and a few of our friends and family were at the Stonedead Festival in Newark, Nottinghamshire, UK. A one-day festival designed around the old Monsters of Rock at Donington format. Single stage, plenty of bands. Obviously, it's kind of moved on from the Donington days of Monsters of Rock, but single stage, good quality bands. What did you think of it? It was good, wasn't it? Good day out.
It was a brilliant day out. It was, the weather was very kind to us, even in...
All about the weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good festival, good weather. Because us Brits love to talk about the weather, don't we? It's all about the weather. First and foremost, what was the weather like?
I thought it was really good. Well organised.
It was good. It was weather like. Great. Hey, tell us about it. So, yeah, it was extremely well organised.
Yeah.
Loads of volunteers, lovely volunteers. Got to give a shout out to the lovely volunteers. And, of course, the whole team that organised it was just fantastic. Nothing left to chance, and really, really good festival. Memories, Brian?
Memories for me. I'll leave you to talk about the Friday night because, of course, obviously, I'm a part...
I have no memories of the Friday night, I'm afraid. I do remember the Friday night vaguely. Revival Black, massive, and headliners Black Spiders. All good.
Were they all good? Okay, well, we'll leave it there.
Tremendous.
Friday night is in the dim, distant past.
Indeed.
But not as... So I had two great memories of Stonedead. Number one, the treatment. Matthew,
Yes.
Where has the treatment been, and why do I not know about the treatment? As you know, and as everybody knows, I'm a bit of a part-time... even a one-day festival, I do like to go and have my afternoon siesta. And as I was walking out of the arena to go and have my little mid-afternoon siesta...
Oh, my goodness. One-day festival, you still had to have a little nap.
I still had to have a little nap. And I was walking, I was honestly nearly at the exit, and the treatment came on. And it was like, sorry, when did AC/DC reform? And they played tracks like Shake, The Mountain, The Doctor. So you can remember, I just turned tail and came back in and rocked my little backside off to The Treatment. They were phenomenal. I loved The Treatment. They were great band. Gosh, even these Wicked Rivers, starting out lunchtime, they put a great set in. Heat, as we know, I missed.
Oh yes, famously, yes, you slept all the way through them at Steelhouse, didn't you?
I did, and I'm so pleased that I got to see Heat. They were great. The lead singer out of Heat, he was bouncing about and jumping about all over the place. He was full of activity. Kenny
Lacremo.
Yeah, Kenny Lacremo with his long hair.
Yeah, very long hair.
Yeah.
I think at one point he was in row 2. He went into the audience. He was in row 2 and his hair was in row 32. Is that long?
He was very. It was like he looked like Danny Vaughan from Taiketa. That long, or Ray Gillan. It was Ray Gillan-esque hair.
Magnificent hair of the day, I would say. as opposed to hair of the dog, which is what I was drinking.
And we didn't do that. We didn't do hair of the day for the Taylor Hawkins tribute.
No, it's true.
That's a new feature. Hair of the day.
Hair of the day. Let's do that next time around. It's a new feature.
New feature. Right. So, that was me off the top of my head. I'll talk about some other stuff in the festival in a moment. What about you? What were your highlights?
Well, I really enjoyed it. I think these Wicked Rivers are good. I mean, they're the guys with the lampshades on stage.
Yeah.
Fantastic image, big beards, hats and everything. And really good, really great sort of kicking off the festival at 11:30. Kicking Valentina, a 4-piece from Atlanta. I mean, if you had a swear jar, it had been full after about the first song. Oh, my goodness me. There were kids there and everything.
Exactly, yes.
I was like, hold on, lads. Come on a minute. It's lunchtime on a Saturday.
That's true. That's very true.
But they were quite good. Plenty of energy. Of course, bless them. Similarly, Tigers of Pantang, who I last saw in 1981 at Thetford Sports Centre. With John Sykes was in the band then.
All right, okay, yeah.
John Deverell, but these days it's just Rob Weir from that classic lineup. Still good, still solid.
I was buying chips.
You were on the chip van, queuing up. They're good though. You know, classic Nwabum, still going strong. One remaining member, a bit like Diamond Head, really. Oops, I mentioned them. As you say, the treatment were good. Been going a long time, actually. Kelvin, this social media guy, doesn't like to be mentioned, but we're going to mention him anyway. Yeah. He sent me a message saying he bumped into the former bass player of the treatment, who was with the band for 12 years.
Wow.
He's no longer with them. So they've been at least 12 years. Their ex-bass player, Rick Swoggle Newman, good name, left them in 2020. He'd been in the band since 2008, so they've been going a few years. But yeah, they were revelation.
They were awesome.
Heat were good, not quite the same energy, or maybe it was because I saw them for the first time at Steelhouse that it was like a novelty thing. But they were good, all the same. Stonebroken were on around sort of 3-4 o'clock spot. Excellent, good, solid festival band, great band. Sadly, the only female representation of the whole day was Robin, the drummer from Stonebroken, which I think was a bit sad, really. Not to say there aren't lots of good female musicians and performers out there, but you know, maybe my only criticism, maybe a bit of more of a kind of a female presence, as it were, on stage. But they were good. They were good. Put on a good show. I'd love to see them again. I've seen them a few times, and they're a really good festival band.
Yeah.
Those Damn Crows were the special guest, and but before them, we had Vandenberg. Who do you think of Vandenberg?
Oh, I knew you'd turn to me on Vandenberg.
Because it was that Whitesnake kind of era that you love, don't you?
Oh, it was. Of all of the bands, I make no bones about it, Matt. As you know, when we were looking at the lineup, who was the one band I was looking forward to seeing the most? Vandenberg. And after Stonebroken, who did a really good set, it was as if everybody went for their tea. It was like...
I noticed that.
I literally walked from where we were standing in our usual spot right to the front of the stage. No, I didn't bring the chips with me. I stood 3 people in front of the stage, and I'm standing there, and Vandenberg came out, and I was underwhelmed, Matt. It didn't build any momentum of the material. They kind of, for those Whitesnake fans like me, yes, he did Judgment Day. They did what started off to be a lovely acoustic version of Sailing Ships. Yeah, which me and the guy that's standing beside me sang the proper lyrics to. The guy on, Matt's on stage kind of like forgot some of the lyrics. They did Judgment Day
theme later in the day, wasn't it?
Yes, and then of course, don't get me wrong, everybody was sent home after the Vandenberg set when they played "Here I Go Again," which is a Whitesnake cover. So I just felt for an hour's worth of material, I thought Vandenberg just seemed either undercooked, under-rehearsed, or just were working on a European set list and not really thinking of whatever. It just didn't click for me, Matt. And I love Adrian Vandenberg. I love him.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do. Which brings us to Those Damn Crows, a special guest who were just fantastic. Just go for straight to strength. And are really turning into a, really, really, big quality sort of almost kind of arena-sized band. And the high point of their gig, of their show, was they did a cover of "Video Killed the Radio Star."
They did,
which was just fantastic. The whole audience was singing along because we all remember that 1979, 80, whatever it was. That song came out, but yeah, it was tremendous. I really enjoyed that. And the Michael Schenker Group finished the proceedings as the headliner. I was a little bit disappointed. They weren't quite as tight as when we'd seen them at Steelhouse with Robin McCauley. Ronnie Romero had a few challenges with the lyrics for the UFO songs, which is a shame because obviously the majority of people there knew the songs and was probably singing the correct lyrics, a bit like you and Vandenberg. But still, Schenker was tremendous, on form. Fantastic guitarist. I could watch him all day. So that was it. That was the end of Stonedead. It was a great festival. Going again next year. I think you are too.
I am.
I recommend everyone get your tickets. They're selling fast. Really, really good festival up in Nottinghamshire.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree. And for somebody who doesn't follow Those Damn Crows as much as you do, Matt, the biggest compliment I could give Those Damn Crows where you could have finished the night off with that was a headlining show that they did that night. The crowd really, the amount of people that were wearing the band's t-shirts during the day, but there was loads of people willing them on. They just took it to a point where, as a special guest, you are usually kicking the arse of the main headliner, and I don't think Michael Schenker just rose to the challenge. But don't get me wrong, Schenker's version of Rock Bottom with the guitar solo that he did in the middle of it was just mesmeric. All guitar players watching that would go, you're just saying rock royalty guitar hero. And how many times more will we see Michael Schenker playing as amazingly as he did? So, but as I say, we'll be back next year. Great festival.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely. So, Jan Brian, that brings us on to everyone's favourite, etc., blah, blah, blah. It's a bit of the old podcast.
Hidden Gems Eyes.
Thank you, Lola. Beautiful voice, as always. So, Brian, what you got for us?
I am going with a Foo Fighters connection for my hidden gem. I am indeed.
Okay.
And it's something that I watched on Friday evening. It is a documentary which is available on Amazon Prime Videos, and it's a documentary called What Drives Us. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Okay.
No.
It is a documentary which it's Dave Grohl interviewing lots of his famous friends, and it tells the stories and the adventures of bands starting out and hitting the road in their vans. So it's all about the stories of being in the van. You've got contributions from Flea, The Edge from U2, Ringo Starr, But what's really nice about it is Dave focuses a little bit, not just on his famous friends and colleagues, but he picks out two up-and-coming bands, one called Radkey and one called Starcrawler. And they're young bands, and they're doing the circuit and playing the bars. It's it goes back. It tells you the stories of how bands are, how they started out around America, building up, playing colleges, playing bars. The bass player out of No Doubt is hilarious. He tells a story.
Really?
Yeah, I think there was about they were in a van, drove for like 4 hours to go to this club. They go to play in this club, sold 0 tickets. So they sold 0 tickets. I think the guitar player went out for dinner in a pub or something, and basically brought these people from the pub to the club who didn't pay the tickets. So there was like 7 people on stage and 4 people in the audience. and members of the band used to jump down off the stage to try and balance things up between how many people were in the audience. So it tells you the story about how bands started out. And I thought, as I watched the Foo Fighters did a tour recently where they all got back in a van. And I just thought sometimes what cements a band is that time of staying in a van, all trying to get organised as who's going to sleep in the back and who's going to do this and whatever. It's a fascinating documentary, and there's little touches with the Foo Fighters in it as well too. Great documentary, and it's on Prime Video. That's my hidden gem. How about you, mate?
No, I'm really looking forward to that. Well, I've got an album from 2012, one that we couldn't squeeze in earlier, but an absolute gem. Dare I say a hidden gem? Yeah, I dared. I think I got away with it.
You did get away with it.
Right, so this is the debut album from Mark Tremonti. Who's he, I hear you say? Well, Mark Tremonti is the guitarist from Waterbridge and was also the guitarist in Creed. And this was his debut album as a solo performer, both singing and playing guitar. And I think I've said it before on the old podcast in the context of Waterbridge, a fantastic singer. And this album is just a brilliant debut. All I Was from 2012. I remember it, again, we talked about this a little while ago. I remember I used to drive around with this on CD in the car. And I remember that era. My kids were obviously a bit younger, and moving them around and just driving around, and all the rest of it. Great songs. Leave It Alone's on there. You Waste Your Time. The title track. All I Was. So You're Afraid. I mean, he's done a few solo albums since then, and they're all good. But I think this is probably the best of his solo material. So, hidden gem for this time is the album All I Was by Mark Tremonti. Great
album. And can you, when he toured that album, can you remember who the bass player was?
I do. It was a young fellow by the name of Wolfgang Van Halen.
Boom. Yes. There you go.
Yeah, I saw them in the Electric Ballroom in London. And fantastic. Great venue, good band, and the great Wolfgang on bass. So nice way of kind of bookending the thing from the Taylor Hawkins show. So that's it for now. Just a quick sending best wishes to Phil Mogg of UFO. Recently had a heart attack. We wish the great man well. We also wish Danny Bowes well from Thunder, who's had an operation on a head injury. Yeah. So wish him well. We wish everyone well. We wish all our listeners well. We hope you're all well. You're enjoying the podcast. Please get in touch at FTAT Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, and also on Facebook. We'll see everyone next time, won't we, Bri?
We will indeed.
Episode 30 something.
37, Matthew.
Episode 37. Yes, indeed. Look forward to it. See you, mate. All the best.
See you, mate. All the best. Rock on.
That's about the pod. We salute you is a Maylie Rogers production.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.